Hello! Welcome to my channel, Edible Thoughts Makes. My name is Stephanie, and this channel is where I share with you my works in progress, finished projects, things I'm cooking up, books I'm reading, funny things my kids may say. My hope is that as you watch this episode and the previous episodes that you find some inspiration along the way. I am coming to you from a bright but currently overcast day in Minnesota, where I live with my husband and our 2 young children. It is the first week of April, year 2023. We have quite a bit of snow on the ground. We recently received about a foot of snow, and then it warmed up a little, so some of it did melt. But anywhere along the edge of the road where the snowplows went through, or people were snow blowing, were shoveling, there's a decent pile in some areas, maybe 3 to 4 feet of snow still. Our forecast is warming up, but we're just not quite in springy weather yet. Although maybe this is our springy weather. You know, if it's above freezing, it's springy weather. But yeah, that's where we're at with that. A big warm welcome to everybody joining me here in this creative space today. I do have several projects to share with you. I believe some of them have not been shared here yet. Well, definitely not, because they are either still in like the very beginning planning stages, which I thought maybe I would share a little bit of my thought process on that and like the backstory. And then some of them you have seen here just in previous episodes over the last several months. What else? I do have 2 finished projects to share with you. I have a book that I am currently reading, and oh, well, I guess that would be a good time to say how I organize my episodes here. If you are new, in the beginning you will have seen a vlog that usually has little snippets of different scenes. Not scenes isn't the right word. Snippets of my life since the last time that we chatted. And then I usually go into like an intro welcome where I love to talk about the weather, and then we go into finished projects, works in progress, eats and reads, and then sometimes a food for thought on things that might be on my mind, and things that maybe you would like to respond to. Of course, you can respond to other things in the episode as well, but sometimes there's just like a question that I might throw out there that you may or may not be interested in joining in on that conversation. So all I ask is for people to be kind and respectful in the comments. I think we can gain a lot of insight from others as well. So if you feel interested in reading what other people have commented on, I feel like it can be valuable. So yes, just be kind and respectful in the comments. You will find links in the description box below this video. You click on that show more. I think it's like a chevron arrow type of thing. Sometimes YouTube changes things up, so I can't keep up with all of that. But links to things that I talk about will be in the description box below the video. So I usually use, if a designer or maker has a specific website, I just link to that, and then you can go find their social media pattern, whatever, things like that. And then I do use Ravelry for my projects, and so I will have that separate so you can choose to go there or not. I do try to talk about the specifics that I would have on the Ravelry project page here on YouTube. That way it just keeps the information accessible to all. And there's something about being able to show the project and see the drape of it, or just talk more in detail about it here on video that I just can't always type out on a project page. If I talk too fast or too slow for your preferences, here on YouTube you can adjust the speed to go slower or faster. I also provide closed captioning, so there's the CC button, you can click on that. YouTube does provide automated captioning, but a lot of times things don't always make sense, especially with words that are like homonyms. I think homonyms, right? There's some words that I always have to go in and change. I'm not going to say it because I'm going to have to change it. So not going to create more work for myself. But yes, I do go in and edit that just so that things make a little more sense, and for spellings and things like that. So let's jump right into finished projects. The first finished project I'd like to share with you today is the one that I am wearing. Let me pull up my page in my notebook here. So this is the Love Note by Tin Can Knits. It is a paid for pattern, so I won't go into specific details that would give things away in the pattern, but I did make a few modifications and I will discuss those and why I did that and things like that. The Love Note sweater has over 11,000 projects in Ravelry, and it has sizes from newborn all the way through, let me see, I'll pull it up here. From newborn through, what is the circumference, finished circumference of 72.5 inches. It is written for cropped or a regular length, and I will let you know what I did for mine. And it is written for a DK, a very loose DK gauge, so you can do a fingering weight plus a lace weight fluffy yarn, which kind of fills in the gappy parts, or you could not do that. You can just hold 2 fingering weight double, you can just do DK weight. You can hold fingering weight double, you can hold just DK weight, you could do worsted, you could do whatever you want and just play around with the gauge. The gauge is very open, so it's 16 stitches for 4 inches, so 4 stitches per inch. It is using US 10 or 6 millimeter needles, but of course you might need to adjust needle size to get the gauge that you want. And the ribbing is done on US 7 or 4.5 millimeter needles. I did get gauge with what I did. I knit the adult XS size, which is a finished circumference of 38.5 inches in the chest circumference. And I believe, let's see, the recommended ease, I want to say it's, okay, 4 to 12 inches of positive ease is the recommended ease for what the pattern is written for. Of course, you may go up or down depending on what suits your preference. Just know that's what the pattern is written for. So if it doesn't fit the way you see their sample images, then that would be why. Okay, I'm going to stand up here and push my chair back so you can see mine. Here is mine. Oh, I just adore it. This came out just what I envisioned. If you've been here for a while, you may know that I plan out my projects with a lot of thought in the beginning so that hopefully I end up with a result of what I'm thinking at the end. And this is my 4th Love Note. I knit one for my mom, I have one for myself, I knit one for our daughter. The one for our daughter, I had omitted the lace, and it did create waving in the fabric in the yoke section, and I believe it's, you know, the change in gauge. You don't have the lace to really open it up, and so there just ends up being like extra fabric there. So you can try it, it may work for you, it may not. She still wears it anyway, but I think I'm going to knit her another one and with the lace in there. And she usually wears her sweaters as a layering piece anyway, so I think it'll work out just fine. So that's a future project, just a tangent there. So I knit mine using, let me see if I have the yarns here. Where is the other one? I think it's in here. Okay, excuse me. So I knit mine using Purl Soho Linen Quill in Bright Flamingo. It is 50% fine Highland wool, 35% alpaca, and 15% linen. It comes in 439 yards for 100 grams, and this is what I have remaining. And I started with 2 skeins. So I started with 200 grams, and I ended up using 152 grams of this fingering weight total. And that's including my modifications, which included lengthening the body by quite a bit. I think the cropped length would have hit maybe more my natural waist. Standard length would have hit probably right above my hip bone or slightly past, but I wanted mine like several inches past my hip bone, so that's what I did. My fluffy yarn is this discontinued yarn by Knit Picks. It's called Alpaca Bloom. The colorway is Champagne Peach, and I bought this several years ago when they were discontinuing it, so it was at a very nice clearance price. It is 91% superfine alpaca and 9% nylon. And it's a very matte, soft pink. Mohair tends to be shinier, especially with its silk core, and the alpaca just ends up being, I think it's floofier, but definitely more of a matte look. So when I had bought this Bright Flamingo, I had mentioned in a previous episode that my initial thought was, that is so bright. Like, I love it, but can I wear a whole sweater like that? Yes, I can, but will I? Will I reach for it? And so it's this very fluorescent coral. And I thought, you know what? If I marl this pale pink, peachy pink, with this fluorescent coral, I'm going to get a fabric that's going to be not only delightful and lightweight and fun, but it's going to tone down the fluorescence, and then I will reach for it. Because I do like bright colors, I just didn't know if I would wear, it's not solid, it's heathered because the linen doesn't take up the dye the same, but I just knew that I needed something that toned it down just a little bit. And I also here lengthened the sleeves, and I think I followed the sleeve length for the size large, maybe. I think that's what I did. And yes, so I lengthened the body, lengthened the sleeves. Let me sit down so I can tell you a little bit more. I did the, let's see. Okay, for the neckline, the pattern recommends that you do a provisional cast on, and then after you're done with everything, then go back, unpick that provisional cast on, and then knit your neckline. That way you can figure out if you want it wider or narrower, and I think that is a great option if you're not sure how you want it to look. I would also recommend blocking, or even at least steam blocking if you're not going to do a full-on wet block, before you unpick that provisional cast on to knit your neckline, because the lace is going to significantly open up and your fabric is going to feel very different and hang on you very differently than previous to blocking. And so you won't get an accurate feel of the fit to know how you want to knit your neckline if this lace hasn't opened up and blocked yet. So having knit this pattern before, and I kind of knew what to expect and I knew how I wanted my neckline, I actually just cast on directly from the neckline. And I did an Old Norwegian cast on, also known as a German twisted cast on, which is stretchy, and I just worked that part of the pattern backwards. So I knew what I wanted it to look like, I knew what, like the fit that I was seeking, and I just went with that. So I did not have to go back and pick up that provisional cast on. Also, just knowing this fabric, I've knit with this combo before. It's very, sticky isn't really the right word, maybe sticky, but it's hard for me to pick up the stitches with this this yarn combo. The fluff just kind of is in everything, and it does make it kind of grip together, which is lovely for a cohesive fabric, but not lovely for trying to pick up individual stitches to then knit from. So yeah, I just wasn't gonna do that. What else? I don't think there's much else to say. Oh, yes, there is. In the pattern, I don't believe there's short row shaping for behind the neck. There is at the bottom hem, which gives you a little bit of a curved hem and just makes the back slightly longer, but I knew that I wanted short rows in the neck area, which then brings up the back a little, then brings down the front a little. So I followed the instructions from the ranunculus pattern from Midori Hirose, which also has this big loose open gauge, so stitch counts were similar to the pattern, for the sizes that I was making, and so I just followed that. And so I did the short rows, get my hair out of the way, so then the back has a little more fabric than the front, and it sits very, very nicely. I love it. I'm very happy with this knit. I think it's so drapey and so comfortable, and it's the perfect spring knit. It's easy to throw on, it still feels warm, even with this lace yoke. I wear like a tank top or camisole underneath. I know I can throw it over a dress, I can throw it over a t-shirt. It has plenty of ease. Mine came out to be about 7 inches of positive ease. I might have blocked it slightly wider too, just to kind of open up this lace. I feel like there's a lot of room to block it, however. Like I could have blocked it, you know, farther down if I wanted to tug it that way, or more wide, and I just chose to do it a little wider because I knew I had plenty of length. So yeah, I think that's it for my love note. I recommend this pattern. I mean, as you can see, if 11,000 people have knit it, or not 11,000 people, there are 11,000 projects, and I think multiple people have knit multiple versions of it, and I foresee myself knitting more versions of it because it is a fun pattern, and especially at this loose open gauge, it works up fairly quickly, and I think being a huge range in sizes as well, you really can knit one for everyone if you really want to. So yeah, I really enjoy this pattern. I really like it. I'm going to knit another one for probably both of my daughters. Maybe I'll knit it for them, well, at some point. I don't know yet. I think I have yarn that I can use for both of them. I probably will omit the fuzziness just because sometimes, you know, mohair, some people have a little sensitivity to. I think it can make it pretty warm, and I might just do like a fingering how double. I'm thinking of one particular yarn that I have 2 skeins of, so I can definitely do that for at least one of the kids, and then we'll see what I do for the other one. I don't know. We shall see in a future episode what I do for my kids. Continuing with the Tin Can Knits fan club, these are the world's simplest mittens. I have knit so many of these. They are my favorite mitten pattern. Let me pull up the info on that one. It also comes in multiple sizes. I think this one comes in maybe 5 sizes. And this one has nearly 19,000 projects on Ravelry, and for good reason. It is just such a good mitten pattern. It is written from multiple gauges, so I think fingering weight through chunky weight, and then the sizing is, let's see, toddler, child, adult small, adult medium, and adult large. And of course, if you change your gauge, you can make it even smaller or bigger or somewhere in between. I knit the child size for this pair, and the needles I used were US 5 or 3.75 for the ribbing, and then US 7 or 4.5 millimeters for the stockinette portions. And the yarn I used is yarn remaining from a previous project. It's the Farmer's Daughter Fibers Sock Squad from September 2021 called Fantastic Mr. Fox. I'm going to hold it up close here. And that is a Highwood sock base, which is 80/20 superwash merino nylon, 400 yards for 100 grams. And I had 53 grams to start, and I used a total of 42 grams. I thought I was going to use the whole thing, but maybe I knit the ribbing and the cuff slightly shorter. I don't think I did. Yeah, I thought I was going to end up using the whole thing based on their estimate, but maybe, well, I didn't take into consideration the percentage of cushion, like extra cushion in there. So anyway, I do have a little bit remaining. Here it is. These are the little bits I have remaining that I will end up using in another project. So it's got like a cream, and it's got like yellow, golden yellow, yellow orange. It's just a really fun colorway. And I don't think I really made any changes. The pattern doesn't tell you what kind of increases to use, it just says make one. So on this one I did make one left and make one right for the thumb sections, which doesn't have any like gaping holes. And then one tip I have is when you are picking up for the thumbs, oftentimes you'll end up with a hole in that intersection point between the thumb and the hand. So I just recommend leaving a long tail, maybe a 12 inches, and then you can use that to close up that gap by like duplicate stitching and just pulling that area a little bit more secure, and you won't have any holes. Anything else? I think so. Oh, at the top of my mitts, it says to just pull through the remaining stitches and pull tight. I just graphed those stitches together. I think there were even numbers of stitches. I don't know for every size if it's an even number. If it's not an even number, then yes, I'd pull through all the remaining stitches, but if it is an even number, I just graphed it. Because when I do the decreases, well, I knit the whole thing on magic loop. I should start with that. I think the pattern says, well, you can knit it using double pointed needles, magic loop, whatever you want, I guess. But yeah, I knit these in using magic loop, and I do them 2 at a time on their own needles in tandem. So I'll knit like cast on for one, cast on for the other, knit the cuff for one, knit the cuff for the other, knit through the gusset for one, knit through the gusset for the other, knit through the hand, you know, on and on, so on and so forth. So they're always playing catch up with each other. I don't end up with just one mitten at the end. I end up with 2 mittens at the end, which is fabulous. And then my mind is in that same mindset with each section that I am knitting. So it's like fresh in my mind, and it doesn't feel like I am starting all over again and knitting the same thing again. So yeah, These are the mittens that I have knit, and these are going into the Christmas bin. I knit gifts year-round because I don't like to be stressed out in November trying to hurry to get everything all set. I mean, I end up having to do a little bit of that anyway, but this way it lessens that, I don't know, pressure is the right word, because nobody's like making me do it. I just want to be able to enjoy the holiday season in November, December, and if I'm stressing out about making things or getting the right gifts or whatever the case may be, it's not as enjoyable. And so if I make things as I am inspired and just have them done and they just go in the bin, I put a tag on them, I say who they are to, I put in write on, the fiber content, I write on the care instructions, and I just throw it into the bin. I don't wrap them yet. I just throw them into the bin, and then if they need to be changed up or whatever, swap out who's getting what, I can do that later, but at least I can get things checked off and have things done. Okay, on to works in progress. Changed out the laundry, made myself a new cup of tea, and let's move on to this next section. I have several works in progress just shared with you, so I needed a little break or a refresher or whatever you want to call it before I got going into this section. The first one I'm going to share with you is my ongoing long-term project, the Half and Half Triangles wrap. It is a pattern by Pearl Soho. It is a free pattern. I do recommend you checking out the pattern if it is something you are interested in. The instructions, I believe, are only a page long. So this pattern has, I think, over 2,000 projects on Ravelry. I don't want people to feel like they have to make it if they don't want to. It has come up so many times, not even necessarily here just in the comments, but elsewhere as well on Instagram and stuff. I feel like sometimes people see something that has tons of projects and they feel like they have to make one. Similar to like the Love Note sweater and other quote-unquote more popular patterns. I just feel like, if there's a lot out there, the exciting thing is you can see so many different variations, so many different versions, so many different color combinations, so many different ways to style it. Like, that's what's exciting to me if there's a lot of projects out there. I am not somebody that gets FOMO, F-O-M-O, fear of missing out. So I don't cast on something because everybody else is doing it and I don't want to be left behind. That's not the reason. For me, if I'm inspired by projects, if I am inspired by color combinations, if I can see that project fitting in my wardrobe or that process filling a need in my process of making, that's why I cast something on. That's why I make something. And yeah, that's where I'm coming from for stuff like that. So if you are feeling like, oh, everybody's making that, maybe I should, I would highly recommend just stepping back and thinking about why you might want to make something or might not. And if you really do want to make it, go ahead and make it. I'm not trying to deter you from making things. I feel like some people make comments like, oh, I haven't even made one yet, or, oh, how come you've made so many? I haven't even made one yet. Well, it doesn't matter. Like, how many I make was really, to be like, I guess snippy, it's none of your business, but that's not what I mean. I don't mean it in a snippy way. I just mean it's to each their own, right? If you want to make a million of them, make a million of them. It's your own business. And yeah, no judgment, okay? On me or on you. I will not be judging you whether you make it or not. And that's true for any pattern. Yeah, just putting that disclaimer out there. I feel like I do it every time I bring up this project, but some people are new to this channel and just maybe don't know the vibe that I am putting out, the energy that I put out for these kinds of projects or episodes, whatever you have it. And so I just feel like sometimes it's good to be clear on people's intentions and boundaries and whatever else it may be. So no hard feelings if you make it or you not, if you love it or you don't. I'm just here to share with you what I am making and what works for me. And maybe it'll work for you too, and maybe it won't. Doesn't matter. Okay, so now that we have cleared the air on that, this is the half and half triangles wrap that I have named Dawn and Dusk, or Dusk and Dawn. I don't remember which way I said it, but it doesn't matter. I will show you where I'm at. Oh, it is so lovely. I just adore it. I do things a little bit different from the pattern, and since it is a free pattern, I will tell you a little bit about my modifications. I do have a video here on my channel that talk about my modifications. I will link to that in the description box below the video. As you can see, I have joined my second color. If you are unfamiliar with the pattern, I do recommend you read it. So you cast out all the stitches to start. You're growing it in triangular form via short rows. Pattern is written for wrap and turns. I prefer German short rows, so you just have to go like one more stitch over to have that stitch being the one that you turn, or double stitch, or however way, I don't know how you would explain it, but it's to turn your work around. Pattern is written for two sizes. You either cast out 190 stitches or 260 stitches. I have found what works for me is 230 stitch cast on. Because the whole thing is garter, I can still block it out pretty much to the largest size just by kind of stretching it out and pinning it down. Everybody's gauge may vary, so what works for me may or may not work for you. I use the US 3 or 3.25 millimeter needles that are called for in the pattern. I prefer using a 40-inch cable. I have tried it on 47-inch, which is actually what I started this project out on, using another set of needles, but the cable on those needles were not memory free, and just like the twist and turns of it were really bugging me, and I felt like the 47-inch was too long of a cable for my preference. I think if I was casting on 260 stitches, maybe the 47-inch cable would have been fine, but still, like the way it was kind of twisting around was really annoying me. So then when I got to the halfway point where you knit across all of those double stitches, I just switched onto the 40-inch cables. These are Addi needles that I really like for this particular project. I often use ChiaoGoo needles, but those are really sharp, and since this is essentially the same motion throughout for thousands of stitches, I just like a blunter needle for these, and so these are the Addis, and the tip is much more blunt than the ChiaoGoos, and so this has just worked for me. I feel like this cable is not all super twisty, and so it's just more comfortable. I have progress keepers on here by my friend Maria of Woolen Forest. Her Etsy shop is Forest Charm. Let's see if I can pull this up to show you without losing any stitches. This one is a cat. And I have another one on here, which is a crescent moon, and this one has a moonstone. Oh, I believe the cat is mother of pearl. Let's see if I can hold them up for you. And I just love a good theme, and since I was inspired by Dawn and Dusk for this one, I thought these progress keepers work really well. The yarn that I'm using is Purl Soho's Quartz Space. It is a 65% merino, 35% alpaca at 420 yards for 100 grams. And the colors that I am using are gray denim, which is this heathered bluey gray. And my second color is lavender moon, which is a heathered lavender toned gray or gray toned lavender. And I just love the two colors together. I had made a hat using both colors previously, and it's just delightful. I cast this on New Year's Eve of 2022. I would love to have it finished by the end of April, but that is an arbitrary deadline. I do have another combination in mind that I want to use for my summer project, and that I'll talk about in the summer. It may be May. It'll probably be May when I start that. We'll see. Maybe June when the kids are off school. It will celebrate the start of the summer. I don't know. We'll see. But I'm really excited about that one too. also super excited about wearing this one. I do wear all of my half and half triangles wraps. I just feel like they're so cozy and so comfy to just throw on. They do fit under my winter coat or over. Yeah, I really enjoy them. So yes, I've made several of these. They are my comfort knit. I can pick them up, put them down whenever. I often work on these at night when I am too tired to think about anything and I'm trying to get the kids in bed, or they are in bed and they are reading and they still need help with hard words, or the lights are out but they are not asleep yet. My kids don't fall asleep very quickly or easily, and oftentimes they need somebody there, and so that's the one that I can work on without thinking when I'm exhausted and I just want everybody to go to sleep. And it also, because it's just a sea of garter and it's garter knit flat, so it's just knit stitches, it is something that I can use to calm my mind, to kind of process things throughout the day, process things going on, whatever. And it's truly a comfort knit for me, and I really enjoy it. I do have a video that talk about my modifications here. So again, I do the 230 stitches. I do German short rows instead of wrap and turns, and I do slip 2 stitches at the end on the edge. In the past, I've done slipwing 1 stitch, I've slipped 2 stitches, I've slipped 3 stitches. It's really whatever I feel like doing, and on this one I happen to be slipping 2 stitches. Let me hold it up so you can see the edging here. The original pattern has a garter edge, which is just fine too. It just depends on what kind of look you want. And yeah, and my cast on, I just do an old Norwegian cast on. So 2 of the edges will look similar and the other 2 will look similar. So 2 of the edges will have this slipped, and then 1 edge is the cast on and the other edge is the bind off. I do not do like an I-cord cast on or I-cord bind off or any of that. This is a low fuss project for me, and I'm just not going to. Not that like an I-cord bind off is fussy. I don't need to do it. If I don't want to, I'm not going to do it. And I like how those 2 like cast on bind off mirror each other and the other 2 edges mirror each other. It's just preference, and that's what I like. And I did end up using, let's see, almost 200 grams of the first color. I used 196 grams of the first color, so I anticipate using about 200 grams for the second color. My first skein was pretty generous at 107 grams, so I don't anticipate running out at all. And again, this is on my gauge. I feel like 2 skeins or 200-ish grams of each color works out pretty exact for me with casting on 230 stitches. The skeins generally come over 100 grams. I've gotten 102, 104, like I said, this one is 107, and that gives me the reassurance that I shouldn't run out. But again, they don't have to give you over 100 grams. It's just how it comes, and I've just been lucky that it works out. And so I do usually have a backup plan. Like if I run out, I might have like another contrasting color that I might want to put in. But let's say I just want to put in a bright pink pop in there, then I will. That being said, I haven't had to do that yet, but I have that in mind. If I needed to, I can make it work. This one, I probably don't need to do that because, again, I have the yarn for it, and also I don't have any other colors in this base. I would like to stick to the same base, so like for the other ones that I used, the linen quill base, I do have remaining colors from previous projects, so if I ever ran out, I could just insert a sliver of another color in there and be just happy with that. My half and half triangles wrap has outgrown the previous bag that I had it in, and also, you know, being a long-term project, I like to switch up the bags as I go. As it grows, I need to do that too, but it just keeps it kind of fresh. And so this one I had made, it has the, do you call them birthday constellations or just constellations? I don't know, but it has moons on there, and like it'll say Virgo, Taurus, Gemini, Sagittarius, all of those. It's really fun. And I had some remainder fabric here on the side that has crescent moons. Oftentimes I'll include the selvage edging that has the fabric name, because why not? It's fabric, it's fine. The bottom is duck canvas, and this one's purple. This one happens to have these little extra stitching on there because my rotary blade accidentally cut through, and so instead of, you know, having that fabric be useless, I just used the button stitch or a really close zigzag, can't remember what I did, and just stitched up that cut part and just kept going. And it is just fine. I can't remember if I used fusible interfacing on the inside too, just to reinforce it. I probably did. I don't remember. I made this a little while ago, so I don't remember anymore. If you are new here, I do not sell my bags. I am not a business, and I don't follow a specific pattern or tutorial, and I will not be making one. It is a lot of work, and I have zero interest in doing that. I also never make the same bag exactly the same twice, and so I don't have specific measurements for anything. That's just not how I work. I really enjoy the freedom of being able to make it however I want to, and so that's what I do. I encourage you to Google things, YouTube things, if there are things that you are looking for. There's so many resources out there for how to make bags, and if you have a sewing shop that's local to you, you can also check them out. Oftentimes they'll show you how to use your machine, how to pick a machine. A lot of times they have classes, so those are resources that I would recommend you check out. I am not your resource for it, but I do have several projects that I'm going to share with you today that are housed in project bags that I have made, and I would love to show them to you. So here we go. This is the first work in progress, and we will go on to the next one. Next project I'm going to share with you is housed in this super cute bunny bag. I just love it. It says spring, even though outside is not very springy. I don't remember when I made this bag, a couple years ago maybe. I just adore it. And in here I have a new project. This is Sonder 2.0 by Wei Chen of The Petite Knitter. And getting untangled here. Okay, I think we're good now. I have knit one of these before. I knit it, I think, last spring. And it is a DK weight pattern, but the gauge is 24 stitches for 4 inches. So I feel like you can use sport weight or even fingering weight at 24 stitches. And I'm trying to find my page here. Here we go. I knit, I believe, the second size last time, and I used linen quill. And this time I am knitting the third size. I just want a little more positive ease. Recommendation is 2 to 4 inches of positive ease, and this time I think I'm going to go for like 5 inches of positive ease, maybe. And I am using the called for needles, which is, actually I don't know if I am or not. Let's see. Pattern says to use US 4 needles all the way through, which is a 3.5 millimeter. I've decided to use a US 3 or 3.25 millimeter for the ribbing. What did I say here? Oh, nope. Back up. US 4 or the 3.5 millimeter needle for the ribbing and for the stockinette portion. And then I switched to US 5, 3.75 millimeter for the colorwork portion. And then I think I will decide when I get to the stockinette if I'm going to use US 5 or US 4. I think I'm going to stay with US 5 because I like the fabric on a US 5. And my gauge may end up changing a little bit, but I'm not for sure yet. We will see when I get there. The yarn that I'm using is Purl Soho's Good Wool, which is listed as a sport weight yarn, but can also be knit up to a DK. It is 100% Andean Highland wool. It is not superwash, and it is 383 yards for 100 grams. This yarn blooms very nicely. I've knit with it a few times already. I've used it in colorwork. I've used it in steeking my academic vest, and I really, really like it. And I feel like it is a friendly price point, and I think there's a huge color palette, and that's something that's really appealing to me. The colors I am using are Pink Salt for my contrast color. This is a colorwork pattern. It is knit top down. It's a yoked, like a circular yoke sweater. And my second color is Barn Door, which is like an orangey red. So I've got this peachy pink and an orangey red. I really like this color combination. I feel like it's kind of a year-round color combination, at least for me it is. It's springy, but it can also be fall. It's lightweight enough. I could throw it on, you know, in chilly mornings, chilly evenings. We shall see. Right now it feels like spring's never coming, but it will come. It'll be fine. And I will show you the start of it. I have not gotten super far. Here's another Progress Keeper by Maria, who's Woolen Forest on Instagram, and her Etsy shop is Forest Charm. And I've just gotten started. So I have my neck band there, and I've just started the color work section, and I'm really enjoying it. I really enjoy knitting color work. I feel like I get into a good rhythm, you know, if you're like 3-1, 3-1, 3-1, or 2-4, whatever. It's a nice rhythm for me. And I knit my color work with one color in each hand. So I will have the contrast color in my left hand and the main color in my right hand. And then I will both throw and, is it pick? So I knit both continental and throwing? I don't remember like the equivalent of what is called what on each side. But anyway, I use both methods and I don't let go of my yarn. I guess I kind of let go because you have to throw. No, I let go of the needle. I don't let go of the yarn. Anyway, I just make sure I keep my stitches spread out on the right hand needle so that as I am knitting, I don't have any floats that are too tight, so there's no puckering. This yarn blocks out so nicely in color work. You get a very smooth and even fabric. Well, I don't know if you do, I shouldn't say you. I get a very smooth and even fabric. I get a very smooth and even fabric when it blocks out. I just really enjoy this yarn in hand. It just feels nice. It's a drier yarn and not scratchy to me, but that is all relative to everybody, so I can't tell you if it's going to be soft for you or scratchy for you. I find it really nice, and it blooms very nice and fills in the holes. It's not like a super halo-y fluffy yarn, but for some reason it still does fill in those gaps. And I believe on the website it says it can be even knit to like a DK or even light worsted maybe, though I have not tried this on US 7 or US 8 needles, but I believe it would be nice. I don't know. We shall see. So US 5 and US 4 I've knit it on, and it seems to be really nice. I really do like the fabric. So you will see more of this progress as the weeks go by, and I look forward to sharing more of this with you. Next one we are going to talk about is my sheep camp sweater. This is also a 2.0 sweater. I've knit one before. And this pattern is by Jennifer Berg, also known as the Native Knitter. And I am knitting size A, which is a finished circumference of 36 inches. My gauge once again is slightly off, and I think I discussed this previously, that the yarn that I am using, even though it is listed as DK weight and her pattern is written for DK weight, her DK weight yarn used in the sample is a much lighter DK weight. And so, you know, gauge ends up changing because of that. So the yarn I'm using is Purl Soho's knitting yarn, which is 100% merino at 219 yards for 100 grams. And this color is Heirloom White, which is a cream. And then my main color is Sandpiper Brown, which is a slightly heathered, light, warm, sandy brown. This is a very nice soft yarn to work with. I really enjoy it. It is not super wash. Here it is. This is a top-down circular yoke color work. Beautiful pattern. I love it. I have made modifications. I knit this thick neck band here. The original pattern has a rolled neckline. I decided to start with ribbing, knit double the ribbing length that I wanted, knit down to the cast on edge. Super stretchy. I don't use a provisional cast on, I just use a stretchy cast on, and it's always worked out just fine for me. I did do a few extra short rows in the back of the neck compared to what's in the pattern. Pattern does have short row shaping in the back to raise it because that's more comfortable to wear than having a sweater be choking you. The back just has more fabric, and then the front sits a little lower. I just wanted a little more than that since I was also knitting this big neckband. I did remove one part of the yoke patterning to shorten the yoke a little. The yoke depth is pretty deep, and so I knew I wanted to shorten that slightly. And yeah, I have had sleeve separation since the last time we talked, and I've knit the body. I did not knit it as long as my first one, but it is still longer than what is recommended in the pattern. I am doing a ribbed hem. I'm also knitting that longer than the pattern because I want to, and then to kind of mimic my neckband here. And I am so excited about this. It's going to go just a little bit past my hip bone, which is what I wanted, and then I will do the sleeves. I haven't decided how long I want the sleeves yet. I'm thinking maybe I'll do bracelet length for this one. Pattern has it, I think, at 3/4 length, and I do have enough yarn to do whatever sleeve length I feel like doing, so we'll see where I go with it. But I'm thinking, yeah, I'm kind of thinking bracelet length for this one. We'll see. But I just love how striking and bold this yoke looks, even in neutral colors. And I feel like this is going to be something that's so easy to throw on over jeans. Yeah, it's a little heavier weight, so I'm not sure it's going to get much wear this summer, which is fine. But our summer is not usually that long. And yeah, I mean, there's still snow on the ground right now. It's the beginning of April. We have spring for maybe like 2-3 weeks, maybe 4 weeks at most. And then summer is like June, July, August. Sometimes it's still hot in September. And then we have fall, October-ish. It can still snow in October. So basically my sweater weather wearing season is pretty long. I would say at least 6 months out of the year, at least. Maybe more like 8 months out of the year. And so it will get worn, maybe just not by the time I finish it. But next time we chat, depending on when that is, it may be done, it may be close to done, it may be on the sleeves. So yeah, we'll see. I'm pretty excited about it. I am using US 6 and US 7 needles. US 7 for the color work and the body, and then US 6. This is US 6, right? Yeah, 4mm for the ribbing. The next 3 projects are ones that I haven't started yet, but I am planning to soon, and I thought it would be fun to share. I don't often like to do that because I might change my mind, and then people are like, what happened to whatever project? But these ones I'm pretty sure I'm casting on very soon, and so I don't foresee myself changing my mind on it. And I can still change my mind because I can, because I want to, or whatever, but I just don't feel like I don't always like having to explain myself. I feel like that's just, it just gets annoying. Yeah, I'm pretty sure these are going to be cast on like this week. So I will share that with you. The first one I'm going to share with you is from the Farmer's Daughter Fibers Sock Squad. And this year they are doing a wildflower theme. I'm going to grab the calendar off the wall here. So there is a calendar for this year. Here are all the flowers that the yarn is inspired by. For April, we are looking at the dandelion and the hoverfly. So here's the beautiful illustration. And I'm going to hang this back up and I'm going to show you the yarn. There are 3 bases that this yarn subscription goes through for each throughout the year. And this time it is a 75-25 superwash merino nylon, which is what we had in January. It is 463 yards for 100 grams. This is the ball band. Here's their logo. So it comes with 100 grams and a 20-gram mini. Here is the mini. It is a lovely, earthy, I don't know, forest green. I sometimes think of forest green as slightly bluer, but maybe not. Oh, I really, really like this green. It is a deep green. It's pretty solid. I don't see a lot of variation in it. It's a lovely contrast color. And then I have wound my yarn into 2 cakes already, so here it is. This one is a variegated yellow with some gray and green in it. So it's kind of, it's leaning towards like grello, maybe? It's very lovely. So I have them wound into 2 50-gram cakes, and I was initially thinking about holding the yarn double and knitting a pair of DK weight socks, maybe the blueberry waffle socks again that I've knit a few times. But then I was kind of craving a short pair of socks. So I thought maybe I'll cast on the Spring Rain socks by Natasha of Northern Knits and Pearl. I've knit 2 pairs of those in the past. I'll insert a picture here on the screen so you can see what they look like. There's like a little bit of cabling on the top, and then a little bit of texture, and then a little bit of color work right before the toe section. And so I just feel like that the color work section is kind of leafy looking, so I just feel like it would go really well with this set. So I think maybe that's what I'm going to do. So I haven't fully decided. I initially thought I wanted DK weight socks just because I was craving some DK weight socks on the needles, but I'm really wanting to do those Spring Rain socks. So I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to shorten the leg and just make them shorties. I'm thinking like just covering the ankle maybe. I think that's what I'm going to do. We will see next time that I am here what I end up doing, but I have a feeling that's what I'm going to do. I had already put in my size 3 needles in the bag, but I'm going to take them out and swap them for the US 1. I think they're on US 1s. I'll have to double check that, but I think that's what I'm going to do. So, next one, I had an itching for spring, and I really wanted to make myself a springy tote bag, and so I did. I had this brown canvas, which is, you know, reminds me of mud and dirt. And I wanted to be able to take this bag out with me in the summer when my kids are playing on the playgrounds and stuff and not be worried about putting it on like a dusty park bench or wood chips or whatever. And so the bottom is brown, and these pockets I decided to put on the outside work really well. I feel like a blue probably would have looked nicer, but I didn't have blue canvas. And I could have used the same blue, I think, that I used for the drawstring channel, but then it wouldn't be as firm, and I wanted firm pockets. It would just be too floppy, I think. So that's why I did what I did, and I really like this floral patterning design. Just makes me think of spring, even if it's not springy weather outside. The inside, I have this really pretty clothespin doll fabric that I've had forever, more than 10 years. I'm pretty sure I've had it since before my oldest was born. And that's kind of springy, whimsical, summery. And I have pockets on the inside. One of my machines has like an embroidery option on it. I don't know if you'll be able to see it. Let's see if I take the yarn out, maybe you can see it. And so from my pocket divider lines on there, I did embroidery, flowers. So I think that looks really cool. And this yarn here is Pearl Soho's Linen Quill. Surprise, surprise! My favorite fingering weight yarn for a lot of projects. Not socks, but for everything else. So 50% fine Highland wool, 35% alpaca, 15% linen. This colorway is oatmeal gray. And I think what's really cool about this colorway is that there's subtle marling between the plies. There's like a cream and a gray, and I really like how that looks. This is going to be the main color in my coloring book T. It is a pattern by Amy Scher. This will be my 3rd version of this pattern. I feel like everything I've shown you in the works in progress are things, no, including finished projects, are all patterns that I have knit before. And I really like that. I'm going to go on a little tangent here. Surprise, surprise. The tangent is that when I have stuff to share, I don't, how do I word this? I don't make things for the purpose of sharing or having content, okay? I don't make things to share on YouTube. I share on YouTube because I have made things that I want to talk about, that I want to share. And so if the things that I want to make happen to be the same pattern in various different ways, that's what I have to share. And so I'm not chasing after like the next new thing, the next shiny thing, the next popular whatever. That's not my purpose. And I make things that I can see fitting into my lifestyle or fitting into the lifestyle of family members that I gift things to, or whatever it is. Or I'm trying new things. I'm playing with color. I'm exploring what happens if I change this up. How does this affect how I feel if I use this color instead of this color? Whatever the case may be, I am creating these color stories into fabric that are then memories that are stitched in to what I am making. And so I often find that having a canvas that is familiar and yet I'm going to change something up, that's comforting to me. That's exciting to me. That's enjoyable for me. So I'm not always seeking out patterns for the purpose of learning something new. Oftentimes I'm making things for the comfort of making, and it's just part of my everyday life. So there's my tangent. But yeah, so this color is going to be my main color. The pattern is written for multiple different views, is what she calls them, and so there's striping involved. The original pattern has striping in the body and in the sleeves. I might not do the striping in the sleeves this time and just do the striping in the body. And I'm thinking of using an assortment of pinks for the body striping, just like my far and wide hat that I showed last time. I think these are what I am going to use, and I think it's going to be so fun. So here's Bright Flamingo, which is what I have in my current sweater. Then I have Peachy Pink, which is this like neon pastel. Then there's this light pink, which is peony pink. There's this neon pink, which is called Pink Pop. And there is this orangey red called Red Poppy. So the plan is to use all these colors in the striping. I don't think I have enough of this rhubarb pink that is remaining from other projects as well. I believe this color has been used in multiple things already, and I'm pretty sure there's less than 2 grams left, so not gonna play with that one. But I think I'm gonna use all the other ones and just use them each once in the body striping. I plan on knitting the body slightly longer than the pattern calls for, because even the regular length I feel like was a little bit short on me. I don't particularly think I have a super long torso or anything, but oops, forgot to put the pattern in. But it's just, you know, the way I like my clothes to fit. So I'm going to knit the body slightly longer. I'm going to knit the knit the sleeves slightly longer. I do have long-ish arms, so I feel like the last one, even though I knit to the pattern specifications, maybe even slightly longer than the pattern specifications, it still is like just past my elbow, and I feel like just with bending and stuff, the fabric naturally just kind of shrinks up, and then it just ends up like right at my elbow. And this time I think I would prefer it longer, so more mid-arm, which means I will knit several inches longer. And I think, yeah, I'm gonna knit the stripes, no stripes in the sleeves, and just use the main color and knit through. And I should have enough yarn, because last time I did have some yarn remaining from my first one, so I should have enough to make those modifications with these 2 skeins. And if I need to, I'll just make my contrast stripes a little wider in order to save a little more of the main color for the extensions that I will be doing. So that will be cast on soon. I did not cake up my yarn until I knew I was going to cast on soon, to not tempt myself to start before I had finished some other things that I wanted to finish. So I'm really excited about that one. The last project I would like to share with you is also not started yet, but the yarn and bag are designated. This is a bag, I can't remember if I sewed this last summer or the summer before. I love how it makes me feel. It makes me feel happy and calm. I just love the colors. There's jewel tones, it's cool colors, and it's enormous. And I initially made it, no, it was last year. I made it last year, I think, for like to be a blanket size. And I will be making a blanket. The pattern that I am, well, I was gonna say loosely following, but I did some math on it this morning, and I'm pretty sure I'm just gonna follow it as written, even if my yarn and needle sizes are different. And it is the Amazing Log Cabin Blanket. And it is a free pattern by Pearl Soho. It is a recently released pattern, I believe. I'll put a picture or a screen grab, or I don't know what you call it, of it here on the screen so you can see what it looks like. It basically mimics a log cabin quilt blanket, except you're knitting it. And it is written for sport weight, and I'm kind of modifying it for like worsted DK. And I will be bumping it up a needle size. The pattern calls for US 6. I'm using US 7s, which is a 4.5 millimeter. My gauge is going to be different, and my yarn is going to be the Knit Picks Hawthorne Kettle Dye, which is already it's listed as fingering weight, but it's already, I would say it's a sport weight at 357 yards for 100 grams. And that's 80/20 fine Highland wool and polyamide or nylon. So it is a superwash yarn, and this is going to be a gift. It is for a friend that recently received a medical diagnosis that has a good prognosis, but she will have a long road ahead of her. And that's all I'm going to say, because it's none of my business to share her business on YouTube. But that's the general thing of it. I want to send her some comfort. I want to send her some calm and let her know that I'm thinking of her. So here are the yarns that I am using. I wound up a ton of yarn because it's a blanket that uses a ton of yarn. And I'll be holding this yarn double. And her colors, she really likes greens and blues, trending towards jewel tones, and so I'm pretty excited about this. Here's my teeny tiny swatch, not in jewel tones, and this isn't like the color scheme I'm going for, but this is my swatch. I think it's so cute. And I just couldn't decide if I wanted to use US 7s or US 8s, but I think I like the US 7 better. It's garter, so it's stretchy, but I don't want it to feel stretched out. So I think having it slightly denser is probably good, but still like movable, not like solid or anything. So let me hold up my colors. Let's see if I remember what all the colors are. I wound up a lot of yarn. Some of it, I think 5 of the skeins are brand new 100 grams, and the other ones have been used in previous projects. Here's Cattail. Cattail is like a yellow-green chartreuse color. Very springy, super fun. And these are all colors I had on hand already. They were designated for socks. They have been used in socks. They've been used in other projects, and except for the new ones. The new ones were designated for socks, but they are going into this blanket. Oh, and the other thing is, I wanted it to all be the same base. Since I was going to be holding it double, I want it to look uniform. The way it's set up, I think, looks better if it's going to be more uniform versus like a crochet blanket. I have a little more wiggle room if the yarn weights aren't all exactly the same. But with knitting it this way, I just felt like it would look more cohesive if I used all the same yarns. And then this color, this is like a beautiful tealy color. There's a tag. Poseidon is this one. And all the colors are, I believe they're all semi-solid. So they do not have a ton of other colors in them, but they have enough variation to look kind of watercolory, which I love. So here is Cattail and Poseidon. And I'm really looking forward to creating these different color stories through the blocks. The pattern's written for 2 different colors. Start in the center and you kind of work your way out, just like if you were quilting a log cabin design. And I'm going to just make my stripes different color combinations. And I'm really excited about the freedom to be able to do that. And this color is North Star. It is a deep navy blue. And then I have this dark green, which is Serpent. It's like a blue-toned dark green. I don't think I'm going to be able to balance all these colors here because I have 9 colors that I'm working with. Here's a light blue called Wisp. Okay. Let's see if I can do this. Oh yeah, I'm not going to be able to do it because some of them have tags sticking out a little farther than others. Here is a dark purple, plummy purple named Contessa. It is more of a red-toned plummy purple. Okay, then we have this light pink called Daphne. Here's a golden yellow. I don't know why I'm still holding this other stack here. I think I'm afraid to put it down. Here's a golden yellow called Compass. And then I have a cream here that's just the bear. Oh, there it goes. That is the bear yarn. And so I'm really excited to create color combinations that vibrate, that calm, that settle each other, that ground each other, that excite each other throughout. And I just think it's going to be so much fun. So like I could have 4-stripe sequence of, you know, these 4. Green, pink, white. I could do a more fadey-ish combo, whoops, if I wanted to, with this navy and the greens. I could put the purple in with the greens. I can put in a light blue and the white and the yellow. So many options. I think this is going to be really fun. I'm planning on starting this soon. I don't have a timeline for it. I would like to send it this summer as she is going through her multiple different procedures and yeah, she has a long road ahead of her, and I hope to bring her a little bit of comfort and joy in these colors, and just know that people are thinking of her and rooting her on, and that, yeah, it's hard to have words for things that are so, I want to say, disruptive in someone's life and unexpected, and yeah, it's just tough. On to eats and reads. I don't think I have much to talk about as far as eats goes. We've made like homemade pizza recently. Don't have any pictures of that. What else have I made? I've made some curry stuff. Don't think I have any pictures of that. Yeah, so we're just gonna move on to something that I've been reading. I started the Land of Stories series. It's by Chris Colfer? Colfer, I think is C-O-L-F-E-R. Here, I'll show you the cover here. So the series was initially purchased for our 4th grader to read, but she was finding it a little bit, I don't know if intense is the right word. She doesn't always like things that are too action-packed, and I think there were just some parts of it that were just making her kind of nervous, so instead of calming her down before she went to bed, she was just getting kind of worked up. And so she stopped reading it, but she thought I might love reading it, and she is not wrong. I love fairy tales, I love mythology, I love retelling of folklore, all of that stuff. So in this series, it pulls together a lot of the Brother Grimm's fairy tale stories, and twisting it isn't the right word, but like it tells some of it from like the villain's side of the story, and it tells, how do I put it? It brings to life these characters in such a funny way, and I am really enjoying it. So this is book 2, The Enchantress Returns, and I've read book 1 already. I really enjoyed it. It's about these twin siblings who go on these adventures, find out stuff about their family history, and it's really fun. It's a fun read. I have noticed that I really am gravitating towards not heavy books right now. I just want things that are a little bit lighter, that transport me to another world, and I'm just really enjoying this series right now. Have you read this series? What did you think about it? I don't remember how many books there are to it, but there are several. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6? Is it 6 books? Anyway, I'm on book 2. I just started the 2nd book. This one's over 500 pages, and I'm just excited to delve into it. Last section, are you still here? Hello! Thank you for staying with me. By now, hopefully you've realized that my videos also have timestamps for the different sections. It's a little late to tell you now, but hopefully you saw that in the description box below, so that you can jump around or watch it in different, over different days, and just come back to things if you need to look for stuff. We are on the food for thought section, and I just want to say, first off, Thank you so much to everybody who contributed on the last episode and joined in on the conversation about what grounds you. It is so fun to read and enjoyable to read about what grounds people. And it got me thinking about something else. It got me thinking about the word awe, A-W-E. And I saw something on the news recently about awe and micro adventures. And at first I was like, micro adventures? Is this another like trendy word that's put on something that, I don't know, I never thought was like a specific word? And I will say kind of. Basically it was, well, at least what I got out of it. And I'll link to some articles below if I find things that are related to it. I don't think I would be able to find like the exact news segment, but I might be able to find articles similar. But it's talking about the comfort we feel being part of something that's larger than ourselves, the joy, the wonder, the supernatural, the miracles that we see in our everyday life. So it's not about having to hop on a plane and go somewhere that's far from where you are to feel that excitement, but it's the everyday. It's the seeing a butterfly emerge. It's seeing leaves unfurl. It's seeing your plants grow. It's seeing things that you planted years before that come back every spring. It's being able to find that comfort, that well, I think I used all the words that I was thinking about using, but it's about seeing the beauty and things like that in the everyday life. So going for a walk, going to the park, and doing those things. I'm not entirely sure why it's called a micro adventure. I think it just means like doing something new or different, or noticing something new or different that doesn't entail like a ton of planning or like going somewhere far away. It's just something in your own, on your own street, or whatever the case may be. And so I would love to hear from you what brings that awe. And it was the segment that I was watching had to do with how necessary it is to have that awe, and that people who find that awe every day are generally happier human beings. And I would agree with that. I feel like otherwise things can feel monotonous, things can feel not meaningful, things can feel dull if you don't have that awe just there. And it doesn't have to be like, I don't mean that kind of exhilarating feeling from like a surprise birthday party or something, which you may not enjoy either, but I don't mean that kind of like woo feeling. I mean like the wow, look at that. Look at that new leaf. Look at that new growth. Look at I mean, it can be different for everybody. And so for me, a lot of it is in plants, seeing a new, monstera leaf unfurl, or seeing a new shoot come up. Seeing green peeking through the dead fall crunchy brown leaves that are now soggy from last year. And those things just make me pause and take it in. I just love that. Or seeing the steam rise from a hot beverage. That, just looking at that, I feel like brings me some awe, some joy, some comfort. Just knowing that that is going to happen regardless of what I do or say. That's just there. So yeah, I would love to hear from you. What brings you that awe? Or maybe what's your micro adventure? I don't know. I'm not sure how I feel about that word, but that's what it was called. So yeah, I think that's everything that I wanted to share with you today. I hope you are doing well. I hope you are taking good care of yourselves, your loved ones, your neighbors. So with that, cheers to being creative, and I will talk to you next time. Take care.